Okay, this your boy Buck City Kennels live, and we are back with another exclusive. We got a video today. It's I seen it on the Tom Garner YouTube channel, Tom Garner Kennels YouTube channel. I can't really show any of the video because of copyright purposes. I mean, you never know. Some people get in their feelings and maybe they want to try to go for copyright strikes. We don't want any of that over here at Buck City. We're just here taking content from the dog world and chopping it up and presenting it to the community. This is going to be my reaction to this video. I guess this is episode 1, Tom Garner podcast. Salute Tom Garner. You know, I guess he's got a podcast now. What do you know? Amazing how this community grows and more dogmen are starting to do podcasts and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm laughing out of, you know, it's not to take a shot or to clown or anything. Like, you know, most people will just jump in the comments and say, yeah, he has a 30 car collection, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, try to say that he has more than me, or, you know, I'll never be half of the dog man that he is. You know, I've heard it all. I've heard, you know, people make comments about the last video that I did about Tom Garner. I might post it in the description so you guys can go check it out. I had it on the Buck City Kennels channel. It's like my first year in the game, first 4 months in the game. You know, I made a video. It got a lot of traction. But this one, I guess he's reacting to Facebook Dogmen. And in this world, you know, people take a lot of shots. People, you know, I mean, that's what it is in this dog game. So I'm going to be sitting back, playing some of the video, or try to play the full video, but I'm going to be pausing and stopping and, you know, adding, you know, some commentary on some of the subjects and kind of dissect where I think, you know, he may be coming from with some of these statements. And, you know, because, you know, I don't know where he's coming from with anything, and I'm just going to be organically reacting to it. So none of this is intended for illegal purposes. You know, we know at Buck City Kennels, we can't do anything. We can't possibly talk about anything, whether it's past or present, without basically getting our doors kicked in. You know what I'm saying? Other dogmen, they have the privilege to talk freely about, you know, whatever, and people don't look at them as criminals. And we'll get into that when we talk about mass incarceration and the criminal justice system and things like that we're going to be touching on this channel and my other channel, Dr. Hood. If you guys ain't over there, it's DRH19D. You can go over there. I got a whole podcast over there where we talk about relationships, and, you know, I'm going to be getting into mass incarceration and racism, and we talk about a lot of other things over there that have nothing to do with dogs. But I'm actually going to bring some of that over to this channel, you know, when we're talking about discrimination and things like that. But that's not what this one's about. This is just reacting to the Tom Garner Kennels podcast, and let's go.
We're here with Tom Garner after a nice dinner and a couple glasses of bourbon. I had to headlock him into this interview because we've all been waiting for a book or an interview or something, and I feel like he's just going to work 12 hours a day until his final breath and never sit down and do this.
Right.
So thank you for actually sitting down and taking some time to talk.
Pleasure's mine. The problem with that book is that you have to stop doing the thing that you love to take the time to write about it, and so you stop accumulating work towards your overall end point. And I feel like at my
hey, if you're a workaholic, you definitely understand where he's coming from. You know, you got your own business, you're running. I mean, you know, and I've seen thousands and thousands, 20s of thousands of dogs produced by this guy. I haven't seen him personally, but I mean, come on, over the years, you know, I've been seeing 25, 30 years of puppy sales. 20, 25 at least. Okay. 20 at a level, you know what I'm saying? So when you get into that and you're able to support your family and to be the top of the game, it's hard to take time out to do internet and podcasts and things like that. So finally he gets to sit down and do some of this stuff. So let's check it out.
Age, I'll do well if I've got another 10 years of being, of having clarity and having the wherewithal to actually accomplish work. So to set aside my current momentum, and I feel like we have a lot of momentum in this program right now. We're actually just reaching the point of where we're ready to move to the next level.
Damn, see, and then you think, see, this is what people think that you probably think like, okay, this guy's already at the top level. So he's finally getting to a point where he's ready to move to the next level. I want you guys to point that out. When we talk about ambition and things like that, just the drive that a human has, and the you never get comfortable with where you're at. You never get complacent. You never want to be stagnant with the way your program is now and the way it's going. So apparently, I mean, I've seen videos of a whole truck full of 20 pallets of food, and you'll think like, damn, like this is the pinnacle of where it is. People say that Tom Garner is the greatest dog man ever. Okay. As far as, I mean, if you're looking at puppy sales, I would probably have to agree with that. I probably will not be the one disagreeing with that. And money made, you know, for your kennel. Now, other things, ethics, you know, different things, you know, maybe I might have an argument for that. But when we're just talking about a guy that sells puppies, there's no disagreement. But the fact that there's some other level. There's some other level out here. Me personally, I want to know what that level is.
So slowing that down to document what's happened thus far is not an entirely attractive thing to contemplate. I love doing it too much to stop and write about it. But at some point I realized that if you don't document it, nobody really knows what you did. And you're ultimately at the mercy of people who themselves will interpret what you did. In most cases, they don't have a damn clue.
Exactly. And I feel that a lot, because if you're just a quiet guy that just breeds dogs, of course, just like me, I'm just interpreting what they're doing, what he's doing. I'm just assuming what he's doing. Just like I said, thousands of, 20s of thousands, I can be a guy that I would want to ask him, how many puppies are you producing in a single year? Because I'm a numbers guy. And in my old video, I alluded to, like out of how many dogs you produce per year, how many actually turn out to be good dogs and notable dogs. Those numbers are important to me. They might not be important to anybody else, but they're important to me because, I don't want to produce a whole bunch of junk, right? I don't want to produce 1,000 dogs and only 3 or 4 of them turn out to be good dogs or you know what I'm saying, on that level. So it's good to document what he's doing and what, why he's still here, why he's still here and he's still in his right mind. He can document some of this stuff so we can get a better idea of where he was coming from and what he was actually doing instead of guessing.
So I thank you very much for taking the time to help me get on record with some thoughts and some documentation, and I might, who knows, I might come to really like this. Might become a total attention whore and forget about dogs altogether. I mean, it does happen.
Yeah, the guy in the background, I don't know him a lot, but of course he's that's Tom Garner's guy. I don't know if he works there or whatever. I've never been to Bulldog Hill. In my eyes or in my vision, I think it's like, you know, let's say it opens at 10 o'clock in the morning. He has a parking lot like Walmart, you know, just in my vision. And it might not be like that. It might just be, you know, you just pulling up to a big house or whatever, and then you just go around the back, just like if you pull up to your homie's house. But in my mind, you know, the way I see people, you know, they take pictures with their dog. This is a daily thing. You know, you're selling dogs on a daily basis, multiple dogs on a daily basis, making thousands of dollars, sucking off of the dog game, right? Doing 80 times more than any dog man that, you know, get called a peddler does. You know, that's just my vision. That's why I want to chop this video down so I can get a better idea of, you know, what's going on in this man's head and what's he doing, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, this is very educational.
Happen to people, right?
Yeah.
There's an overweight guy in the next state up. I think it happened too.
So
well,
somebody,
we won't know.
I don't know who that is, but some guy in the next state up is an attention whore. And, you know, they let this YouTube stuff get to their head. And there's a lot of dislike when it comes to other dog man in this game. And there's a lot of bias, a lot of favoritism when it comes to some certain dog man, depending on what blood you're running and what, you know, you've said about other dog men, right? So, you know, I don't know who that guy that he's talking about. I have an idea, but I don't for sure know. And we won't just jump to conclusions. We'll just keep the video going.
We're about to get into a whole bunch of names,
Yeah.
so we won't get into those names necessarily right now.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna hopefully, if this is something that works out for all of us, we'll eventually get into more helpful topics like on care for dogs and care for puppies, care for mothers, how to help dogs if there's yard accidents. There's all kinds of things that we do around here that might not be so flashy, but might be really helpful for people that are trying to move forward. But for tonight, we're going to get into some more funny topics because there was a guy we'll have to thank. His name was Alton Alfonso because he made a post recently on Facebook, and he listed all the things that people talk about on Facebook and all the stories that people make up about these dogs from people who may be in their 20s, who never met any of these dog men from 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago.
People that may be in their 20s that never met any of these dog men. And that's cool. You know, they maybe have talked to some of these dog men, though. You know, they probably have mentors that were out there 40, 50 years ago doing dogs 30 years ago, and they could get credible, you know, information from these guys. But, and like I said, I don't know who the guy that's behind the camera, you know, the guy doing the interview. Of course, he's a Tom Garner fan. You'll never hear him say anything bad or anything, you know, against what this operation is doing, right? That's why I like doing interviews and this reaction right here, because I don't have a stake in this. So my reaction is going to be organic. You know, who is this guy over here? You know, why do the guys that make these posts, why did everybody got to be in their 20s, right?
So I just thought it would be really funny to get your take. And maybe you don't have a take on all of them, so you can just tell us a little story about the person, or we can just go on. But that's the idea for the first show tonight. And then hopefully later on we can get some shows that can help people that are trying to do their best in the dogs.
ultimately, I want to.
Okay, so so first you're gonna address all the bullshit, and then you're gonna get to the people that want help, bettering the dogs and help with their dogs. That's good.
To the benefit of the dogs, I want to be able to share things that I've learned that make our job as the stewards of the pit bull population to make us more effective at doing those things and taking better care of the dogs.
Right.
The dogs are probably the most noble entities that I've encountered in my entire life, and they deserve a lot better care, a lot more respect than they get.
I agree.
A lot of times they just get treated like inanimate objects, and they suffer a lot in their lives, and I have no peace with that. So at some point I would like for the objective of what we do to be to educate and elevate standards amongst dogmen to the betterment of the dogs.
Yeah, I agree. For now, we're going to get into some funny old history.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get your reactions to some general Facebook, maybe nonsense, maybe not. We're about to find out your perspective on it. So the first little bit of information was that Maurice Carver lied about every pedigree of every dog he ever sold.
I heard that he lied about a lot of them. Now, when you say he lied about every pedigree and every dog, it kind of makes me question the validity of this whole interview. Because it's hard to believe that a man would lie about every pedigree, every dog. You know what I'm saying? Like every single one of them. Really? So you know what the answer is going to be. Okay? But let's hear it.
Well, the idea that anybody would lie about every pedigree.
Exactly.
Man, you'd have to have your own brand of artificial intelligence to keep up with that shit. But the man was proud of himself, and rightfully so. He did a lot of good work. He was not only intelligent and wise, but he was he had a great deal of intuition about him.
Okay.
And basically, by intuition, I mean that he was able to look at a complex situation and readily extract the truth from it at a glance. And most really adept dog breeders have the capacity to do that. And it's something that some are largely born with and some develop, but in most cases, some people with a high capacity for intuition have the right experiences, and ultimately they develop the ability to see the truth in a situation rather quickly. So Maurice was really good at spotting the difference between a true high-quality pit bull and a mediocre dog, and his ability to function effectively as a breeder was greatly enhanced by that ability, and he took pride in it. A man that lies about every pedigree has no pride in his work.
Right. And, Maurice Carver, had his hands on a lot of dogs in the game. So to see somebody throw him under the bus, I don't think that'll probably happen, because if you throw him completely under the bus, well, that throws your program under the bus also.
He was proud of his work, sufficiently proud of his work that he wanted to be able to point to it and say, see, I'm a little smarter than the rest of you guys are. So I don't think it's fair to say that he lied about most of his work. I think Maurice was a little bit of a con man, but only to the extent.
A little bit of a con man, but only to the extent. A little bit of a con man, but only to the extent, right? And we talk about this, and Tom Garner himself has had people question about the truth about a lot of the pedigrees, about Frisco, And when I was around, I saw dogs coming off of Frisco and stuff you know, at the time, Frisco was probably 18, 20 years old. And there was dogs popping up off of this dog, you know, and it raised the eyebrow to a lot of people, because it's like, damn, is this dog still alive? How is he still producing? And they're all just rumors and stuff, and so we don't really know if those dogs were really off of that. The ADBA won't register some of these dogs if they come off of certain dogs, and I won't name the dogs that, you know, if they come off, because, you know, I wasn't prepared with all my stats and stuff for this, right? So to be a con man to a certain extent, it leads me to believe that there's a lot of dog men lying about pedigrees.
That it was necessary for him to survive and have a comfortable life. I think he would probably spot somebody who is not going to do a damn thing worthwhile with a dog, except maybe rub on the dog on the sofa. He would never really find out the true worth of the dog. And those people, I think Maurice would do whatever it took to get their money, because there was no real consequence for long term for the breed.
And this man's not here anymore, so he can't defend himself, you know. And I think there's a lot of people that would do anything to get the money, but we'll let him say it.
But I think whenever it came right down to the meat of the matter, when he was interacting on a high level with other dogmen of his day, I think he was probably pretty straight with his pedigrees.
Okay.
To the extent that he was proud of his work, you can look at the back.
So when it was some dog men that are part of the elite, you know, he was straight up with the pedigrees. But if it was somebody that just came along and he felt that they wouldn't give a fuck about the dogs to, you know, further the betterment of the breed or whatever, he could probably just give you any fucking thing to support, you know, his habit or support his family or whatever, right? And it goes to show, you know, a lot of the rumors that, you know, a lot of black men, a lot of black guys used to get dogs, and some people used to just give them anything. Okay. And I checked this interview out, and there was no question about, did Tom Garner himself lie about pedigrees or sell somebody anything? There was a story that was told to me 4 or 5 different occasions where somebody was there on a yard tour, checking out the yard, buying some dogs from Tom, and the phone rang. Somebody wanted some puppies. There was a kennel with about 20, 25 puppies in it. Tom told one of his yard guys to just go grab one of those puppies out of that kennel right there. Go grab a male out of that kennel right there. Okay? And there's no way to find out like which dog was which. So these are some of the rumors that we hear about this guy, but I'm surprised that they never said anything about these rumors. Okay?
Covers the old sporting dog journals, which were his, and they listed honest to a fault everything that his dogs did. If the dog went out and got his ass kicked and curved out, it was there in Maurice's ad. He would tell the truth. So I think where it mattered, he was an honest man, and if he just needed to help a fool part with his money, and in order for him to be able to feed the rest of his dogs, I think he didn't give a shit. So that's not me endorsing or forgiving or anything other than just recognizing patterns. And I don't think
because you're at the top of the game, and you'll probably never have a problem feeding your dogs, right? So you're at the level where you probably won't do that, right? Okay.
Really felt like that he owed anybody the recipe. But he was proud enough to give the recipe to the people who would understand the worth of it.
Okay. All right. Floyd Boudreaux. Facebook says Floyd Boudreaux lied on most of his pedigrees because he didn't want to give Bobby Hall any credit.
That sounds like a Bobby Hall quote. I'm not going to get started on Bobby Hall. Bobby Hall was a formidable dogman. And I know this topic's not about Bobby, but in order to give a foreground background on the question you asked, I think you have to say a little bit about Bobby. Not everything was what it appeared to be with Bobby. And those who know will know what that means. And I'm not going to besmirch the reputation of a dead man. I think Bobby was a very hard man to beat. I know he was. I saw him in action. I know that he was way smarter than most dog men. He was using Saw Delta Cortef 20 minutes before the contest to induce a catabolic metabolism with all the anti-shock values of that medication long before most people had a clue what that medication was. Bobby was way more intelligent than your average dog man. He was a little slippery too, but at any rate, he would love to have had credit.
I think a lot of these dog men was a little slippery.
For he was highly invested in the Bully Son dog, Bobby Bully Son Hall, and he would have loved to have had a lot more credit for that whole Eli line than he generally got. Most people considered him to be somebody who stepped in after the fact, acquired a good dog, and did well with it. He wanted more than that. And the reality is, the birthplace of the Eli blood, maybe not literally, but the source gene pools for the Eli blood was Floyd Boudreaux. Floyd is the father of that line, even if somebody else did do some of the breedings. Floyd is a fine gentleman, and I consider him to be somewhere between a brother and a father. He is a fine human being, and I can't say it any better than he said it, and that is, partner, you take the Eli blood out of the game, and you got a big old hole. That's exactly right.
Right.
He bred all the ancestors of those dogs, and he's rightfully known as the Godfather. He's a fine gentleman with fine values. He's a loyal friend, and thank God for Floyd Boudreaux.
Amen. All right. Well, next one was just one more on Bobby Hall. Says that he was,
and I don't know if they even got into rather if Floyd Boudreaux faked any of his pedigrees, because I heard a lot of talk, a lot of accounts where that was the case, and this is all relevant. I mean, of course, we're talking about dog men. I consider myself a dog man, and we're all in this community. So if we're going to put other people on the hot seat and question their credibility, why not just put everybody on the hot seat, right? So out of respect, Floyd Boudreaux, he probably doesn't, I don't know if he's going to see this or not or whatever. These guys have a friendship. I've seen, pictures with these guys together. And I don't remember that part, but maybe they don't question. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. You gotta look at that. You gotta look at that.
was the best conditioner of all time, but he bred curs.
Well, that sounds like that came from a very simple mind.
This is one of the points of all of this. It's like all of these statements are a little bit simple-minded, and we're hoping you can expand on it.
Yeah. Well, I know where.
So you want to prep them up to, like, okay, yeah, these are all simple-minded. These are the questions that you had. Okay, so this guy was supposed to be the best conditioner of all times, but he bred curs. Well, let's keep it real, because a lot of the Eli line, before he gets into whatever the fuck he's gonna say, right? And this is historically speaking. You can go grab any book and they'll expound about some of these topics. You can go to forums. This is information that's out there. Okay, the Eli line produced a lot of curs. It did. They said that you had to have a big ass yard if you're going to be running this line, because there's going to be a lot of those dogs that are just not going to pan out. Okay, and we're not doing anything with the dogs today. We're not talking about anything that people do with the puppies or anything of today. Everything that we're talking about, he's talking about old Dogmen, Maurice, Carver. He's been gone for decades, right? And even the pictures that I got up here, the back, these are old shit that we're talking about. Frisco. That's what we want to know. We don't care about dogs that are here today. We're not questioning anything in their pedigree other than the forefathers of the line.
I know where a lot of the stuff comes from. The Eli dogs, they are of a...
Hey, stand on it. Let me back this up a tad. Stand on what you're going to say, because you run the Eli dogs, okay? And it's very heavy in your pedigree. So when they talk about curs, okay, you can't just let that go. So you're gonna try to patch it up. So let's hear it.
This is one of the points of all of this. It's like all of these statements are a little bit simple-minded, and we're hoping you can expand on it.
Yeah. Well, I know where a lot of the stuff comes from. The Eli dogs, they are of a specific athletic type. They have a lot of fast twitch muscle. They're meant to work, and they work hard. They come out hard and they work hard, and they use up resources very quickly. They reach oxygen debt, low blood sugar, a lot quicker than animals that are built with slow twitch muscles and low work rates.
I'm gonna just put that out there, be like, and I'm enjoying this video. I'm enjoying this, but this is nothing that I could have been able to talk about. I just want to note that, this is, I can't expound on, them working hard and, slow twitch muscle, fast twitch muscles, and, all of this. They use up a lot of energy and working, because let's be honest, they look at me as a criminal, right? They look at this guy as a businessman. So, of course, he has the privilege. I want you to remember that word, privilege, to talk about this kind of stuff freely. And there's no repercussions, and there shouldn't be, right? This man isn't caught doing anything with these animals, right? It should be freely. Everybody should have that same privilege. It should be freedom of speech. We all should be able to talk about the animals in a historical context without fear of getting your yard taken.
It's like Napoleon said, fatigue makes cowards of us all, and it does. You imagine yourself going for a nice long run, and you hadn't run in 6 months or 6 years or whatever, and you take off on this run, and it feels beautiful for about 6 steps, and then you get about half a mile in, and that fat on your belly starts bouncing, and the air runs out in your lungs, and next thing you know, it ain't the fun jaunt in the woods that you thought it was going to be. It hurts. It freaking hurts. So yeah, fatigue makes cowards of us all. Animals that burn resources, or people that burn resources at a very fast pace, reach fatigue a lot quicker. If you ever watch...
Okay, so we're going to call it fatigue instead of calling it the forbidden word. I won't even say it. I won't even say it, because they'll chop this up, and then now, you know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So we're going to call it fatigue instead of calling it what it really is, right? And it's a lot of them damn dogs out there, right? But we'll just call it fatigue.
A power lifter, like a world-class power lifter, try to jog 50 yards, and they're pathetic. They're absolutely pathetic. The Eli dogs burn up the resources a lot quicker. If they have any cur in them, you'll see them reach fatigue quicker. But my experience is that
you'll see them reach fatigue quicker instead of just calling it what it is.
If you are making allowances for the fact that they're doing a lot more work than any other line of dog, that
they're doing a lot more work than any other line of dogs. Stop it, please. Stop it. Stop it.
They are as game as any other bloodline out there, and maybe gamer. Most of them have evolved with the proper breeding techniques to have cardiovascular systems with greater capacity. And if they are prepared properly by somebody who understands the things that I've just referenced, then they come to a hunt, to a hog hunt with the preparation to allow them to do a lot of work quickly and do their job and go home.
Yeah. All right. Well, next on the list is Facebook says Pat Patrick lied on all his pedigrees because Bolo was stolen.
Okay, we didn't talk about Boudreaux, and I know they didn't talk about Tom Garner himself. So I just want you guys to take notes.
He admitted Bolo was stolen and then corrected the new pedigrees with more lies.
You know, I had probably 3 or 4 good conversations with Pat Patrick. I don't think that he routinely lied about pedigrees. If you're going to steal a dog, you probably do have to lie. About how that dog over there is bred.
Yeah.
I applaud his resolve to be the best that he could be, and if it was necessary for him to go steal Bolo to be the best he could be, then, well, you know, that was gameness on his behalf, wasn't it?
So it's gameness for somebody to steal a dog, and we'll get into that. But Pat Patrick, you know, plays a huge part in Frisco. So I doubt if I see the total throw this man under the bus, because once again, it tears down the monument that you're building yourself. You just, in 48 laws of power, you cannot tear down what helped build you, right? In the public. You just can't do it.
Pat was intelligent enough to use his resources to good advantage. If you look at the greatest producing bloodlines in the world today, they have both of them. Most all of the top producing bloodlines have some of his work, a significant amount of his work in them, and they wouldn't be the same without his work. So, Pat Patrick, I think he was a great breeder. If he fudged a little bit on paperwork here and there, it doesn't negate the fact that he understood the American game dog. And
if he fudged, really? Fudged, right? This, I mean, you gotta dissect. That's why I'm here, because I'm gonna dissect this. You know, if he hung some motherfucking papers, if he faked some papers, if he was dishonest, those are the words that I want to hear. Not fudged. If he fudged a little bit on it doesn't take away from this and that. It actually does. If these guys act like it was cool to do that shit back then, then guess what the new generation is going to do? It's going to be cool for these new guys to come in here and fudge a little bit on the paperwork and steal dogs and say that it's off of something else. I think it's totally irresponsible and inconsiderate. That's what I would call it.
He understood how important intelligence is in the process of having the most formidable pit bull that you can have. And I'm grateful for what he did.
What are the most significant Patrick dogs that are in your line of dogs?
Well, obviously Bolio. Bolio is the premier source of intelligence in the canine world, not just the pit bull world. I don't think there's a smarter dog out there than a good Bolio dog. So he blended several different bloodlines and really came up with a super high ability, high intelligence package. He added some boomerang blood in there, but if you go back and study what the key players said about the boomerang blood, there's good reason to believe that there's Bolio blood through one of his brothers in boomerang. So it's just more of what made Bolio that is all fused together into into my dogs through Frisco, where we added the Bolio, and also through the Mayday dogs, which had a key element through Patrick's Lady in Red, through Hollingsworth. So just Bolio himself is the key contributor to my program.
I believe it. I believe Bolio was a great producer.
That's because of intelligence and intensity that accompanied the Bolio bloodline. Let me add one other thing. I'm sorry. One of the things that people try to do whenever they're trying to capture a characteristic in bloodline is they throw as much of it as they can together. And if you're breeding Eli dogs, that's perfect. That's what you want to do, because
So when people try to capture the bloodlines, they try to throw as much of that bloodline into that pedigree, right? And if you're breeding the Eli dogs, that's the thing to do. That's kind of odd, because that's what you do. You breed Eli dogs, right? And so listen, man, excuse me, man. I got a mind of my own. You feel me? And this isn't adding up. It's not.
Through Hollingsworth.
Let me back it up a little bit.
Just Bolio himself is the key contributor to my program, and that's because of intelligence and intensity that accompanied the Bolio bloodline. Let me add one other thing. I'm sorry.
Add it.
One of the things that people try to do whenever they're trying to capture a characteristic in bloodline is they throw as much of it as they can together. And if you're breeding Eli dogs, that's perfect. That's what you want to do, because the desirable characteristics in the Eli bloodline are controlled by recessive genes. Bolio, on the other hand,
you're giving away all the secrets.
They're controlled by recessive genes. Get the fuck out of here. That's the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard. It is. So you can throw as much Eli as you want in a pedigree because it's controlled by recessive genes. And this guy behind the fucking camera, he's not going to let him expound on that, because it wouldn't make any sense. What are we talking about right now? What recessive genes is it controlled by? If I did this interview, that's what I would ask. Okay? But doing it with other bloodlines is not the thing to do. But just with this Eli blood, because that's what you base your whole yard off. And you just gave so much props to Bolio because it's the smartest dog, and you just gave all of this props, but then you just shot it down in a sentence. Now you're shooting it down. It's the biggest contributor to your bloodline. You contributed to the Eli bloodline. And then you know that other people out here have Bolio dogs for sale, and a lot of Bolio running around with their dogs. So now it's a bad idea to stack up on the Bolio, but it's a good idea if you're stacking it up on the Eli because it's controlled by recessive genes. Bro, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. And I know there's going to be plenty of people that ain't going to like this motherfucking video, bro. And that's fine. That is fine.
If they can take it and run with it and pass me, I'll be applauding them as they go.
Yep.
On the other hand, the Bolio blood, if you inbreed it, you bring out a lot of crap. You get short couple dogs that have soft teeth, underbites. They lose.
Okay, and I've seen a lot of these Frisco dogs popping out with underbites. I own some myself with underbites. Okay? Funny looking dogs, ugly dogs, terrible conformation. I've seen a lot of them. I've seen a lot of crap dogs off of this line. There's been a whole bunch of people that seen a lot of crappy dogs. But now all of a sudden, when you do the Bolio dogs like that, and I'm going to rewind it just a tad, you're going to get a whole bunch of crap dogs. But when you do the Frisco line like that, Chinaman line, all these other lines that you have on your yard, it's okay to do that because that's what your program is of today is based off. A bunch of pedigrees crammed together. And you got it ain't gonna, this video ain't gonna stop nobody from lining up like Walmart over there and lining up to take a picture. You know, because they just spent $3,500, $2,000 on a fucking dog. This ain't gonna stop none of that. This is just my reaction, my video that I'm doing for my channel to grow my audience. Okay? This ain't got nothing to do with that. This ain't gonna say that I won't never own a dog off of this yard. It's not saying none of that. Just a reaction. Just a reaction.
And run with it and pass me, I'll be applauding them as they go.
Yep.
On the other hand, the Bolio blood, if you inbreed it, you bring out a lot of crap. You get short couple dogs that have soft teeth, underbites. They lose the intelligence. The mothers kill and eat puppies. But if you will just make sure that it's present in the phenotype. If you have significant Bolio blood in your pedigree, and you have the Bolio characteristics in your phenotype existent in the individual, you can breed that individual and expect 2/3 to 3/4 of the offspring to possess the intelligence and intensity that were present in that phenotype. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no worries. I was just going to go back to, I felt like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask the same question about Floyd's dogs. So what were the most significant Boudreaux dogs?
So you're asking the same question about Floyd's dogs, but you're not going to ask the same question if Floyd hung paperwork. And I don't want to go through the comments because a lot of people, you know, they worship this guy. They worship this guy. So, and look it, I don't give a fuck. I'll be the villain, right? Buck City, one thing about Buck City, I'm gonna keep it 1,000. I'll be the fucking villain. Okay?
That you put into your line.
Well, you know, the Eli dogs, they came out in a world full of ponies and plow horses looking like the black fucking stallion. And you look at that and you think, holy shit, you know. You remember when you first saw your first Lamborghini Countach? Okay, that's what these animals look like. They were actually just animals of a higher order, and they performed on a level with their appearance. So the Eli dogs, but then it's kind of interesting that you asked that question. You asked Floyd, Mr. Floyd, what was his favorite dog of all time, and the word Eli doesn't come out of his mouth. It's Bose.
Bose, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I commissioned a painting of Floyd with his dog Bose, and gave it to him a few years back, and his eyes lit up when he received that. He was very dear to Bose. Bose was a very dominant animal in his day, and ironically, I heard him say Bose was his favorite dog, but I didn't give it the weight that it deserved. But then as time passed, and I found myself gravitating towards a couple of specific branches of the Eli family, particularly the Maverick stuff that I blended with Chinaman to produce Champion El Negro, and also the Spike Blood through Black Betty. In both those cases, as it turns out, it was the Eli blood blended with Bose, and they earned their spot in my heart and mind as the premier elite branches of the Eli blood. But ironically, they both had a strong dose of Bose way back when. And yes, Mr. Floyd, you're right. It's a better dog. It's a better dog. It's
okay.
It's a true, honest, get her done kind of a bulldog. So it's nice to be able to have all of that fall in place with their existing bloodlines. The Spike blood still runs very strong in my program, and the El Negro blood still runs very strong. I'd be lost without those dogs.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next, and I'm going to keep saying Facebook says,
That's
because
fine.
this is just stuff we read on Facebook, and it's always interesting to me. This is not stuff we're saying necessarily, but
So you guys in the Facebook world, you guys, your voice is getting out there. You guys in this Facebook world, even though you guys be on there, sometimes I disagree with a lot of things that go on, a lot of things you guys say over there, but your voice is being heard, whether you know it or not.
but we just think it's funny.
Yeah.
So, Facebook says Ronald Boyles claims he bred all the dogs with his name in front, but in reality, some guy no one has ever heard of made all the breedings. Now, I'm not really that familiar with Ronald Boyles, so I don't even know what this one means, but maybe you have a better understanding of it.
I don't know anything about that particular issue. I met Ronald face to face for the very first time at an APDR show in mid-central Florida, probably 6 years ago. Found him to be a polite and knowledgeable gentleman, and wish I had the opportunity to get to know him better. With respect to his breeding, I saw a couple dogs that he bred that I liked a lot. One of them was a female named Mary Jane, who was tough on every level. The thing that struck me early on, and I'm talking back in the late 80s, early 90s, I saw that he was using the same sort of breeding formula that I was, which is Eli blood on both sides of the pedigree, with Bolo blood on one side. So that honors the
Okay. So, he's taking some of the formulas from other dogmen that you see. And I mean, if you like what they're doing, there's nothing wrong with that.
conclusion that the Eli dogs have their best characteristics recessively controlled, and so it needs to be on both sides of the pedigree, and it also honors the fact that the Bolo blood will pass forward intelligence just from it being on one side of the pedigree. So he was using the 3/4, 1/4 formula the same way that I was, and I was seeing quality animals similar to my own. Naturally, if I went back to the basic animals that he used to create his dogs, I started comparing the worth of them one by one with the worth of the ones that I was using, that I had formed my basis with. And he didn't have a Chinaman at his base, but he did have a decent quality Eli foundation, and he didn't have a Hobbs Tuffy, a 3-hour, 4-hour walking dead game animal in the Bolo position. But
so you got a good line, but you're not fucking with me, basically. Salute Ronald Boyles. You had a good line, but you're not fucking with me. He had a 4-hour, whatever, right? because I can't say everything, right? Because I don't have the privilege to say everything, right? This, unfortunately, this is the way America is, you know. So I can't say everything, but yeah, you didn't have what he had, basically. So, but you had a good program.
Nevertheless, the formula worked, and he produced a lot of good dogs. Not on the level that we did, but
Not the
very
level.
respectable. And I would like to show respect to him as well.
So, in line with that, this like heavier on the Eli side with the little bit of Bolio in there, you have Frisco, right? So what do you do once you have a Frisco? Do you just keep inbreeding that? Because like that's the formula, right? If you're two sides Eli, one side Bolio, and then you have it with Frisco, so then what do you do?
Well, if you have the formula, you're not locked into the specific animals. The truth is in the formula, not just in the animals, specific animals. So one thing you have to bear in mind is Frisco, by virtue of being the correct phenotype, having the intelligence and the intensity that one needs in a Bolio dog.
And I heard a lot of bad things about this Frisco dog, and maybe, hopefully, since they got the podcast going, you know, we'll be able to ask questions, you know, because I know Facebook is asking a whole lot of questions about that motherfucker. Okay? So maybe they'll do more episodes about what Facebook is asking, and maybe we can get some answers to these questions, because I heard Frisco was not a great dog. I heard he was not a great dog. You know, he's got bred a whole bunch of times and past 14 years old, right? Some people say that he was bred 20 years. You know, there was puppies coming off of this dog 20 years down the line. Now, I don't know, you know, if it was from frozen semen or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying, whatever, way back in the day, you know, I don't know. I heard Dynamite wasn't off of him. And a bunch of other dogs. But I won't get into that because it's not time for that. But all we're going to hear is how great this dog is. Should we inbreed this dog? Should we do this? What direction should we go?
Or needs to glean from the Bolio line. He at that point becomes the Bolio dog, since he manifests the desirable characteristics. But he was the Chinaman dog too. Really, all was necessary with him was to keep breeding him back into Chinaman or Eli dogs, and he became the key Bolio component that kept getting passed forward. So there's all, you know, the world was mine, really. You know, I could breed him to all kinds of half sisters, could breed him to unrelated maverick blood as long as it had the Eli component. He was bringing forward the Bolio component and the Eli component, so you breed him to a straight maverick bitch or a straight midnight cowboy bitch, which is essentially the same thing.
And that speaks for a good producer. You know, I'm not going to talk about the dog as a producer and what he was able to produce, you know. And there's a lot of dogs of back then that were good producers. And, you know, you could take them any which way, and brother, sister, you could do a lot of different things. Have brother, have sister, back to the mama, you know, dogs of different bloodlines. You can add this, add that, you know, as long as it has certain components, and make good dogs. So, I mean, when you got one like that, you know, it's good to hold on to it. Now, I don't know about all the other shenanigans and shit that go along with it. You know, that's for him to fill us in about.
Or you could breed him to an art bred bitch, or, you know, anyone, a Pedro bred bitch, anything, any high quality Eli source. So it was possible to go out in those different directions and honor the same formula. So the formula is the truth that gets passed forward more than the individual dogs. But naturally, when we wanted to put our best foot forward, so never had the dog produce on the level of Frisco did. 3/4 of his offspring would be would meet the criteria that most people hold forth as being the plateau that separates the greats from the goods.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Frisco dogs, and it never makes sense to me when people say I like Chinaman dogs, but I don't like the Frisco stuff in there. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you don't like adding maybe the greatest bitch of all time to Chinaman?
Okay, and that's perspective. But a lot of people got their reasons why they don't like the Frisco stuff. And I know Facebook is asking these same questions. So you need to get on Facebook, whoever the guy is that's preparing these. You know, I like to encourage you to, it makes for better interviews. If you're going to do a Facebook dog, you talking about Facebook Dogmen, that's a shot. Okay. Because these guys have yards, these guys have programs. They shouldn't be labeled as Facebook Dogmen. You know, those are the same guys that spend thousands and thousands of dollars with you that keep your establishment afloat. That's who they are. So let's get to the real question. If you're gonna label them Facebook Dogman, which is a fucking shot. Like if a motherfucker called me a Facebook Dogman, that would be a direct shot at me and my program. You know? So just something to think about when you're doing interviews.
Which, that's the Hobbs Tuffy stuff, right?
Right.
So, like, why do you not want that? Who would ever say they didn't want that in their blood?
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Well,
it will be people that probably seen a dumpster fire full of trash off of that. That's who it would be. Or somebody that's already happy with the way their bloodline is, and they don't want all of the speculation and all of the rumors behind that Frisco dog. The reason why some of these dogs can't get registered today, they don't want that in their program. That's why.
some people get their heads filled from creating thoughts. And you know where I'm going with this, right?
I mean, that's just a great quote. Some people get their heads filled with creating thoughts.
Yeah, and some people just have shit go in their ears, and it finds a place to park itself inside their head. And so, you know, in some circles, it's people are so tired of coming up short and coming up second that they have. You know, they teach all the rookies a little mantra that basically says, anything but a Frisco dog. Well, you know, it's like how it used to be with the Yankees whenever they kicked everybody's ass in baseball. Not so much anymore, but it used to be you had 80% of baseball fans were Yankee haters because everybody got tired of seeing the Yankees kick everybody's ass every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen people in good dog man that say, you know, they wouldn't feed a Frisco dog. So a lot of people are going to agree, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's going to be people that have your blood on their yard. Okay. But then there's some people that you can't give them one of them fucking dogs, bro. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's probably guys that wouldn't take a Buck City dog if it was in the pedigree. They don't want that. They don't want that for various reasons. One of the good reasons is that you're just running your own line and you just want to stick to what you're running. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing.
And you know, some of that spilled over into us. We suddenly, by the grace of God and a lot of damn hard work and a lot of smart work, we found ourselves, you know, in a very enviable place. And there were a lot of
you're producing the most dogs out of anybody. You can put 5 of the biggest kennels that ever existed over the last 25 years, and you single-handedly, with, you know, of course, with employees and everything, have produced more than those guys put together. And you have a very successful program. You know, I don't want you to think that, but I mean, not to think that. So I mean, show me my opponent, right? I want the best motherfucker out there, right? I'm not going to make this video about somebody that doesn't have a great program. That'd be a waste of my time. Okay? That doesn't mean that everything you got is great, though. But the fact that people line up at your door every single day, day in, day out, spending thousands of dollars, you can make millions of dollars off of the dog game. Okay? You got guys that can't even sell a fucking puppy, or you got a guy that sells 2 litters in 6 months worth of time, and they call him a puppy peddler. Okay? So there are things that people can admire and be envious of. It's not abnormal. And if you're in that position, you should welcome it. You should welcome that. Admiration is a good thing. People trying to find out how you do it and what you're doing, that's a good thing. If you don't want people trying to chase you, do crappy. Have a shitty program. Have a program that's not worth anything. And I guarantee you, there won't be anybody mimicking anything that you do. I guarantee you.
Envious people, and really true competitors will just they'll double up on their work and try to absolutely put their best foot forward to be competitive, and do so in a way that everybody be proud of them. And then on the other hand, you got a whole class of people that go about it a totally different way. They don't have the confidence to try to confront you and try to prevail. Don't think they have a chance of prevailing. So they nip at your heels. They make up rumors. They create lies, myths. They try to undercut you rather than look you in the eye and not blink.
They try to undercut you.
Yeah. Yeah, it always felt like some kind of appreciation for the underdog, and not whoever's number one. It's like people will hate on Michael Jordan because it makes them feel like they know something extra. And I always like to see an underdog win, but I'd rather not be the underdog. I liked watching the Yankees dominate everybody. I like watching Khabib Nurmagomedov dominate everybody. Dominance to me is like, you did all the work ahead of time to dominate. So
it just means you did your homework and you prepared.
Yeah, Kentucky basketball, the mid '90s, 3 straight national championship appearances. We won't get into that here. And
well, let's finish that conversation with saying Christian Laettner.
Yeah, that's about the end of it. I actually liked him because he was the same. Yeah. Like as much as he may have been a prick, he dominated. So I had an appreciation for him always. So
I think you probably have some Christian Laettner in you.
Maybe some of the smart assness that I'm full of. I think they teach that in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay, so that was it. Everything's done. I want you guys to tune into some of those wake and bake shows that we got going on. They're going to be popping up. We're going to be going live with the wake and bakes. Check out Buck City Kennels live. We're going to be doing a lot of good things over there. But overall, this was a great interview. It was well put together. I would like to hear a little bit more about some of the dogmen that are behind the Tom Garner program. Maybe if they could have got on a lot more of the rumors, because that's pretty much where they started, with the rumors and stuff. But overall, great interview. Salute to Tom Garner. I mean, nobody can disagree when it comes to puppy sales alone and how many dogs that you're putting out here and how many people running up there every week spending money. You're definitely on top of the game, right? And if anybody can even be 10% of what the hell that you've been able to accomplish even this year alone, if you can just get 10% of that, you know, they would think themselves as successful also. So this Buck City Kennels Live. Go ahead and subscribe, all of that. Leave the comments. I know there's going to be a lot of haters on there. Go ahead and leave those hating ass comments, and we'll probably go back and I'll dig them up, and we can talk about it. We can talk about some of the comments that I get from this video. I hope this video does numbers. I hope it starts a whole nother conversation. You dig? This is Buck City. I'm out. Peace.